Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at the history of AI, and not just like what's in the headlines today.
Right.
We're talking going all the way back to the beginning to see how we got to this like crazy point in time with this technology. It's pretty wild when you think about it. Like all of this stuff we take for granted, AI that can write poems and self-driving cars, it all started back in the 1950s. That post-war world was still like buzzing from all these tech advancements.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you had all these scientists starting to ask this question, like, can machines think?
It really was a time of just like incredible intellectual energy. And one of the people who really like captured that energy was Alan Turing. Just a brilliant guy, mathematician, code breaker, a pioneer in computer science. Turing was one of the first to really imagine machines that could think like humans.
Yeah, and he didn't just imagine it. He gave us a way to test it with the Turing test. I remember learning about that in school, and it just blew my mind. Like the idea that a machine could fool a human into thinking it was another human.
Yeah.
That became the gold standard for AI.
Yeah, the Turing test really set the stage for everything that came after. But back in the 50s, we didn't even have the computing power to like come close to passing it. But it set the stage for decades of research and innovation. The first big wave was something called symbolic AI. Basically, researchers were trying to program all of human knowledge into a computer using symbols and rules.
It's like trying to build a digital brain from scratch.
Yeah, exactly. They were creating these super complex systems of logic, these digital rule books for how to think. And there was so much optimism back then, like at the 1956 Dartmouth Conference, which is actually where the term artificial intelligence was coined. Some people there really thought they would solve AI in just a few decades.
Well, we all know that didn't exactly happen. AI hit a few roadblocks along the way.
Yeah, definitely. Those early AI systems were really complex, but they really struggled with the messiness of the real world. Like imagine trying to teach a computer all the nuances of human language,
Uh-huh.
or the unpredictable things that happen out on a busy street.
Yeah, it makes you realize how much our brains just do automatically, all those split-second decisions and like intuitive leaps of understanding.
Exactly. And that's where symbolic AI hit a wall. The computers just weren't powerful enough, and those rule-based systems were too rigid to handle the real world.
So what happened then? Did everyone just give up on AI?
Well, it entered what we call an AI winter. Funding dried up, research slowed down. There was a feeling that maybe AI had been overhyped, but behind the scenes, something important was happening.
Oh, really? What was going on?
Two things. Computing power was growing exponentially, and we were entering the age of big data. Suddenly we had access to these massive data sets, more information than ever before, and those two things together, more powerful computers and tons of data, that's what changed everything for AI.
Okay, that sounds like a major turning point.
It was. This is where we enter the age of machine learning, and it's a totally different approach to AI. Instead of programming every single rule into a computer, we started letting machines learn from data.
So instead of giving them a rule book, we
Right.
gave them examples.
Yeah, exactly. Like imagine teaching a kid how to recognize a cat. You don't sit down and describe all its features in detail. You show them a bunch of pictures of cats. That's the essence of machine learning. You feed these algorithms massive amounts of data, and they start to identify patterns, make connections. They basically teach themselves.
That sounds way more powerful than trying to pre-program everything.
Yeah.
But did it actually work? Did machine learning actually live up to the hype?
Oh, it definitely did. And one of the most dramatic examples of this was in 1997 when IBM's Deep Blue, a chess-playing computer powered by machine learning, took on Garry Kasparov, the world chess champion at the time.
Wait, Deep Blue, that name sounds familiar.
It should. Deep Blue's victory over Kasparov was a huge deal. It wasn't just winning a game, it was like a cultural earthquake. Suddenly, a machine had done something that we thought only humans could do. It made everyone rethink the limits of what machines were capable of.
Deep Blue beating Kasparov. That must have been a turning point for AI.
It really was. You had the whole world watching as a machine outmaneuvered a human grandmaster. It was stunning. It was exciting. I think some people were even a little frightened. It really forced everyone to reconsider what machines could do.
Yeah, I can only imagine what Kasparov was thinking during that match.
Right. But Deep Blue's victory wasn't just about chess. It marked the beginning of a new era. One where machines could take on tasks that we thought were uniquely human. And from this point on, that's what AI is all about. Pushing those boundaries further and further.
So what came next? What was the next big leap after Deep Blue?
Well, remember those two key ingredients we talked about, computing power and data. Those kept growing, feeding into each other. And out of that growth emerged something even more powerful, deep learning. Imagine taking the principles of machine learning and amplifying them, taking inspiration from the very structure of the human brain.
Okay, now we're talking about AI that's modeled after the human brain. This is where it gets really interesting. But how does that actually work?
It's all about artificial neural networks. Think of them as complex webs of interconnected nodes, kind of like the neurons in our brains. These networks process information in a way that's more similar to how we do it, recognizing patterns, making subtle connections, even learning from mistakes.
So it's like giving machines a brain boost.
You could say that. Deep learning was a total game changer, especially for things like image recognition, speech recognition, natural language processing, all those areas where AI had been struggling before.
So that's why our phones can understand what we're saying and why I can unlock my phone with my face.
Exactly. Deep learning is behind all of that. And those personalized recommendations you get on Netflix or Spotify, that's deep learning too. Analyzing mountains of data to figure out your tastes.
Wow, it really is everywhere. Deep learning has become such a big part of our lives without us even realizing it. But wasn't there another big Deep Blue moment? Something else that captured everyone's attention.
Oh, absolutely. So remember how Deep Blue conquered chess? Well, there's a game that's even older and more complex, Go. For decades, experts thought AI would never be able to master Go because the number of possible moves is just astronomical. It's way more than the number of atoms in the universe. But in 2016, Google's AlphaGo, a program built on deep learning, shocked the world by defeating Lee Sedol, one of the best Go players of all time.
Wow, so AI conquered chess and then went on to conquer Go. Makes you wonder what's next.
It does, doesn't it? What challenge will AI take on next? And that brings us to the latest chapter in this amazing story, generative AI.
Generative AI. Okay, I need to hear more about this. What makes it so different?
Well, think about all the AI we've talked about so far. It's mostly been about analyzing information, making predictions, playing games. But generative AI changes the game. It's AI that can create, machines that can write text, compose music, even create realistic images from scratch.
Wait, AI that can be creative? That sounds like something out of a movie.
I know, right? And it's all thanks to these incredible advances in AI models. Models like GPT-4 and Adelie are pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. They can generate all sorts of creative text formats, like poems, code scripts, musical pieces, emails, letters, you name it. And they can create photorealistic images just from a text description.
So we've gone from AI that can play games to AI that can write poetry. That's mind-blowing.
It really is. And it raises some big questions about creativity itself. Like, if a machine can generate art or music, does that mean it's truly creative? What does that say about human creativity? And what happens when these powerful AI tools become available to everyone?
You know, thinking back on the whole history of AI, from those early questions about whether machines can think, all the way to AI that can generate art and have conversations, it's been an incredible journey. But I have to ask, where do we go from here? What does the future hold for AI?
Yeah, it feels like we're just getting started with AI. Like, we've only just scratched the surface of what it can do. It's exciting, but also a little scary to think about where it's all heading. I know what you mean. It really feels like we're at this crucial moment. The possibilities seem endless, but we're still trying to understand what it all means and how to use this technology responsibly.
Well, that's what we're trying to do here, to explore these ideas and try to make sense of it all. But after covering all this ground, from the Turing test to Deep Blue to generative AI, what's next for someone like me? For the average person trying to navigate this crazy world of AI?
That's a great question. You know, sometimes the simplest advice is the best. Stay curious. AI is changing so fast, so make it a habit to keep up with the latest developments. Read articles, listen to podcasts, maybe even take some online courses. There are so many resources out there.
Right.
Learning about AI doesn't have to be boring. It can actually be really fascinating.
Okay, stay curious. Got it. But it's not just about reading articles, right? There's got to be more to it than that.
Oh, for sure. The key is to connect what you're learning to your own life, to your work. Think about how AI is already impacting your industry or job. Are there ways you can start using AI tools to improve what you do, to be more creative or more productive?
So it's not just about understanding AI in a general sense. It's about figuring out how to use it.
Right. And remember, everyone's learning here. Don't be afraid to experiment. Play around with different AI tools and see what works for you. The more you experiment, the more comfortable you'll become.
Good point. Experimentation is key. But with all this talk about the amazing potential of AI, I can't help but think about the potential downsides too. How do we make sure AI is used for good? How do we prevent it from doing more harm than good?
That's the big question, isn't it? And there's no easy answer. But I think the more people who are informed about AI, who understand its potential and its limitations, the the better chance we have of steering it in the right direction.
So it's not just about the technology itself, it's about the choices we make.
That's right. It's about asking the right questions. Who's building these AI systems? What data are they trained on? Who benefits? And who might get left behind? These are the conversations we need to have as a society, not just in the tech world.
That makes sense. So stay curious, experiment, but also be critical and ask tough questions. Anything else we should keep in mind?
Well, remember those pioneers of AI, the ones who asked, can machines think? Their vision led to everything we're seeing today. So keep asking those big questions. What does it mean to be intelligent? What does it mean to be creative? What kind of future do we want to create with AI?
This has been an amazing journey, from the Turing test to Deep Blue to AI that can write poetry. It feels like the future is unfolding right in front of us.
It really is. And the best part is we all get to be a part of it.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI. We hope you learned something new and maybe even came up with some questions of your own.
Absolutely. Stay curious, keep learning. The future of AI is waiting to be written, and we all have a role to play.
Until next time, keep on diving deep.